Today on Your Ag Empire, we're joined with Brian Scott, fourth generation Indiana farmer, family man, and the voice behind the farmer's life. Brian has been sharing ag content online long before TikTok trends and Instagram reels, building trust with his audience by simply showing the real life on the farm. We're talking about how social media in agriculture has evolved, what it looks like to balance planting, harvest with kids, events, and family life, and why staying grounded matters more than ever in today's fast paced online world. Brian, let's dig in. So, the early days of ag on social media, like you've been doing this for a while, but how did the farmer's life get started, and what was the platform that you used?
Yeah, I started this back in 2011. People were still reading magazines. The
Sure.
magazines were talking about doing this stuff. And I thought, oh, maybe I could do that. And actually, I think the first thing I did was we were actually on a family vacation in Hawaii. We have some family that live out there and actually farm out there. And it was the night before we flew out in the morning and I couldn't sleep. So I installed the WordPress app on my phone. You wrote like maybe a one paragraph blog post and
Uh-huh.
posted it. And I'm not sure I even had Facebook at that point. And then Facebook was probably the first thing, Facebook and Twitter. And
So the blog post, you just posted it on a website, or what did you use?
yeah, I had a WordPress website. That blog post, I probably didn't even have a picture on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. And it got some traction?
Well, I don't know if that did, but I can't even tell you what it was about anymore. But I kept doing some stuff. Probably the first thing I really wrote was about that trip to Hawaii. Dad and I helped with lettuce harvest a little bit one day.
Cool.
And it's just a little 20-acre farm, but more manual labor than 2,500-acre farming. Yeah.
You bet. You bet. That's one of the things. We went to New Zealand just recently, and to be able to see the way that they farm, the way they do things differently. And I think it's eye opening for us that are more in that conventional American agriculture. I think it's interesting for us to see that and tell our story about it. That
Even other people growing corn and soybeans in different part of the country is not the same way we do it here.
that is true. That is true. Yeah, what as far as like the ag content, like back then, what's changed since? What has evolved ag content from like back then to like what you're doing now? Or have you stayed in your own niche and just gained followers? What do you do?
Yeah, the goal the whole time has been to talk to a non-ag audience
Sure.
and try to keep it in terms they can understand. I think I've done a good job of doing that. Now, you attract farmers just naturally along the way. I follow a bunch of other farmers and
Yeah.
we can, somebody's already had the problem you're trying to solve. You can find an answer that way. So I've tried to keep that mentality the whole way through. Probably have increased maybe the farmer focus a little bit over time.
Sure.
And it's just evolved the type of content you post and more long form video. Now we have to go to short term vertical video. Now we're going to long term vertical video, and who knows what's next.
Y- You know what was interesting? I looked at some of your videos and I thought it was really good that you had a 9 acre layout spot. You're talking about
Mm-hmm.
the bees. And I just thought it was interesting because a lot of us do things like that in our production practices, but we don't really tell the story. And like we are stewards of the environment. I feel like you're probably like me. You can go out there, you can see things that you've done to try to better the environment and do things in a good way. But oftentimes that just falls by the wayside because we don't tell other farmers what we're doing. But I feel like we're in that spot where we really need to get out there and tell that story so that the consumer knows like that we really do have their best interest at heart in what we do.
Yeah. And back to when I started, most of my stuff was probably about GMOs and ethanol. And
Sure.
got away from that. Like I got to a point where like I've said everything I can say about this. And I think the GMO debate settled down quite a bit. And now I'm starting to see like my content from 10 years ago with RFK and stuff coming in like, oh, okay, I might be able to recycle some of this stuff. Or
Yeah.
everybody's talking about it like it's new. I was like, I did this 10 years ago. Here we go again.
Now we're talking about our age when we get to saying we've been around 10 years doing this kind of stuff. That's nuts. I follow on social right now on X, LinkedIn, everywhere. I've captured quite a bit of folks that this whole conventional versus the sustainability. We talked about like in Hawaii, that was a 20-acre farm, but it was a lot of work for a 20-acre farm. And I feel like we've got a tale of two worlds going on right now. How do you think social media is going to play out in this topic? Whereas you got a guy in Western Kansas maybe farming 20, 30,000 acres, and you got a guy in Atlanta that's farming 20 acres or 15 acres. Is there a world that we all coexist, and can social media be the platform that kind of bridges some of those gaps?
Yeah, I think so. And it's not to say that the 20,000 acre guy's doing a horrible job and the 20-acre guy's doing everything the absolute best way. We all, at the end of the day, we're all trying to make a living at it. So you gotta,
Yeah,
that's a cliche has gone back several years. Like, to be sustainable, you gotta be profitable if we do it again next year.
exactly.
So and that's where that pollinator plot came in. We used to rent that farm. Is a big sand hill, and we dragged the planter around up there, and there's a bunch of trees that would shade everything out. And we dragged the combine up there and hardly put anything in the tank. And we eventually were able to buy that farm. It was like, hey, let's stop
Take that.
farming this, and USDA gives us a couple $100 an acre a year.
Sure.
Doesn't make the mortgage payment, but it's more than zero or negative.
Exactly, exactly. And that's just part of us being more efficient in our production cycle. We don't waste the money on the fertilizer, seed, and chem, and all the everything we
Mm-hmm.
got to do. And if it creates a buffer zone and helps build the honeybee population, why not?
Yeah, we have a neighbor that he makes his own honey and sells it. And he's got half a dozen or so beehives up on that sand.
Sure. Let's see. So, life on the farm, we're going to shift gears a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about your farm setup. What crops? What's the operation look like today?
Yeah. So it's mainly me and my dad. We have some extra help at harvest, and a couple of the guys that help at harvest will sometimes truck for us. If we're busy planting, we'll not have them haul a few loads for us, and they can do that. We're about 2,400 acres. We're all no-till. That's part of the reason we don't need so much labor. We just dump seed in the planter and go. So it's not labor intensive really for
Sure.
us. And then I tell people my wife works for the state government. So I said the key to the farm being successful is I'm a state employee with health insurance is what
Right.
makes the farm work.
Amen on that.
Yeah. Because I know what mom and dad, until they turned 65, paid for their insurance. And I'm telling you, it's a big number.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We believe me, we've got to pay for ours, and it is astronomical for a family of 5. It's amazing what we have to pay out for that.
Yeah. So I'm lucky in that way. And we got one boy he's halfway through his freshman year, and then we got a third.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, some more coming up the line. Do they help actively in the operation during your peak times, or
Well,
are they
they do some, especially the older one. He's busy. He's like me. He does 3 sports. He's in band. He's got something every day after school and almost every weekend. So
sure?
actually, he doesn't get out a whole lot. He says he wants to farm, but we'll see what happens. I say he's like his dad. I didn't rush home after school to get in a tractor or anything like that. Or I went to college at Purdue, 40 minutes away. I came home at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the end of the school year. Cool.
Good old
So,
Boilermaker in the
yeah.
that. What's it been like working with your dad and raising the boys in and around this life?
Yeah, it's been great, especially when I get online. I think I've had it pretty lucky because it seems like a lot of people talk about, it's the rite of passage. The older generation should be really hard and mean to the
Yeah,
others. I didn't have that experience. We've been 50-50 partners for probably about a decade. I came back to the farm in 2009.
uh huh.
Grandpa was still with us till 2017, 2018. And all 3 generations worked together. I don't know. I've told people if you wanted to come film a reality show at Scott Farms, you need to be here for about 10 years to get anything.
Well,
Nobody yells at each other. Nobody
it's
throws
been pretty
anything.
quiet.
You know.
That's good, that's good. Like, a lot of families, like you said, they don't have that mentality, and I think what happens is when nobody's keeping score, then everything's kosher, and I feel like you guys probably went into that where it's like, "Hey, we're a team. I'm gonna just I'll step in where Brian's not at, and where Brian is at, I'll go do something else, or I'll" you guys just didn't keep score, and I think that's probably what kept everything going.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I get online and there's a lot of talk about the next generation didn't have any control till they were 60.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, I was in my 20s and I was a full partner.
Sure. Hey, so let's talk about that a little bit. Like you being in your 20s and a full partner, I think that gives you stability like moving forward. Did you felt like you were invested in it rather than if you take the perspective of someone who, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're just a hand until the reins get handed off, but that might be 20, 30 years from now. How do you plan for the future if you're not
Sure.
given that opportunity?
And yeah, my kind of joke, I said it's changed now. I'm 44 now.
Yeah.
It's changed to people when I tell people I farm, people are like, does your dad, does he still farm? I was like, really? He's like on top of the Green Lake right now. He's be 72 in a few months. He's doing just fine. Where it used to be, people would ask me what I do and I was farm. I'm like, oh, do you help your dad farm? I was like, yeah, I help with 50% of the bills that's how I
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, and it almost in our industry, it's just so unique because a lot of folks are in some pretty precarious situations. It's just and there's no one size fits all. We all have unique, and then you throw in the personalities and all that, and I know it's almost like everyone's in shock when you say that you no, I actually own the farm. I actually pay the bills.
Mhm.
I am the decision maker. And it catches them off guard if you're under 50 years old and calling the shots.
I came from, for whatever reason, I decided my last semester of college, I wasn't going to farm. And that's all I was ever going to do was farm.
Sure.
And I ended up working in town, working at a retail store for about 6 years. And I say, it took me about 5.5 years of having a real job to cure me of that and realize that I was supposed to be here.
I Man, I do get that because I did the same route. Like I worked a job for 8 years with the thought that I would start the farm again, and I thought that was to go from sixth generation farm to now you're first generation starting all over again from
Hmm.
scratch. That was a different perspective with all that weight on your shoulders, getting it going.
Yeah, I especially we how I encounter so many people online. I understand. I'm pretty lucky. I always had the green light to come home. The first year, Dad he just paid me what I made at the store the year
Yeah.
before.
Yep.
And then between me and Dad and Grandpa, we went 20, 30, 50, then 25, 25, 50. And then, like, for tax reasons, it was easier to just rent all Grandpa's ground from him. And Dad and I were 50-50 since then.
Yep. That's awesome that you were able to evolve that way without any turmoil. So we talked about balancing family and farming. You've mentioned shutting down during busy season to be there for your kids. Share a little bit about how you make that even work. We
Yeah,
get
that's one thing we're pretty big on. We always things, whether it's a game or a piano recital, they both do piano, and then sons in various versions of the high school band, marching band, and
sure.
I think it helped. I did all that stuff too, and my
Yeah.
wife did a lot of that stuff. So we're actually going on a year now. We are the co-president of the band boosters at the high school. So
Awesome.
that's something we're really involved with it. And we just and yeah, a lot of those things, track season's about to start, planning season's about to start. But if there's a track meet tonight, planner shuts down. If we need to get that much more done, I'll just go back afterwards
Sure.
and keep at it. And then this fall, first year of high school for us in the fall. So between cross country and marching band, I don't think we actually ran the combine on a Saturday. And our part-time guys probably don't mind having Saturday off either.
I've found that if we can alleviate that, I've had better retention on employees because I value that also. I feel like a lot of times you get a phone call from your neighbor and he's, "Hey, I noticed your combine's not running." Yeah, there's a reason because we're at the kids' event, whatever it is.
I'll go to things and I'll notice like I'm the only dad here.
Yeah. And when it's almost looked at a badge of honor that you spend 10 days straight on the combine and working 16, 18, 22 hours. But I've always thought this, hey, we can bust it when we need to. And then if we got to pull off or do whatever, family does come first. And I just feel like as dads, we've got to show up for these kids.
Yeah, you see that debate online now and again. I guess it depends where you come from. Some of the guys will be like, I want my kids to know that dad worked really hard and everything. I want my kids to know that I cared what they were doing.
Sure. I've been to a lot of funerals, and I don't know that I've ever had anybody reference that he was a hard worker ever. And like, I think of that and I'm like, you can work hard, but you can also decide what do you value in life. And I think that's something that agriculture as a whole really needs to get a grip on. I think that drives a lot of the depression, a lot of the things that we're seeing in our own industry.
It helps too, especially with the older son so far. We didn't push him into any of this stuff other than basketball, which is nice to go watch basketball because I didn't play basketball in high school. I was then in middle school.
Yeah.
He plays the same instruments I do, and he runs cross country and he runs track. So he's getting very close. He's probably going to by next fall. He's going to beat me in everything that I did. I enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what everybody's always said is there's only one man that wants you to do better than him. And that's a father-son relationship. And I think that's huge in that. And I think we've got to be there. And whether they're helping us on the farm or they're in band, football, basketball, track, whatever that is, I think those kids being well-rounded is going to give them back, whether they come back to the farm or not. You're going to have those tools to go do things and do them great. I think the more that they're well-rounded, I push my kids they find it on their own, whatever they're passionate about, and we'll go all in.
I've actually joked with my old band director because he still lives here in town and said, I think marching band got me ready for farming because we do the same thing over and over again. We try to do it better the next time. That's all there is to it.
And it's all about straight lines.
Yeah.
That's good. Have there been any major moments? Let's come back to that. What advice would you give to young farm families trying to prioritize both operations and that being present as a family?
Yeah, that is a good question. We've been able to do it. I think it helps. If I had stayed at my old job, a lot of what I do, I wouldn't be able to do. Like I'd been there when I left, I'd been there for about 5.5 years. And at 5 years, I got my second 5 days of vacation.
Oh, gosh.
And if I did another 5, I'd have 15 whole days of vacation. And self-employment's where it's at for me.
Sure.
I can leave whenever I want. Now there's times during the busy season where it's like, when are you going to be home? Like,
sure.
When I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I'd fall asleep at the wheel of the combine. Then it's time to go home if we don't have anything else going on that day. Yeah, I think you just have to make the family stuff a priority. And I know there's farms of all different kinds and sizes. And online, I see a lot of these guys that are the first generation. And I'm like, man, that's a tough route. I don't know that route because I didn't have to do it. But there's a lot to be said for the guys that are making it, doing it as first generation.
You bet. Yeah, that is, it brings a whole nother level of stress and competition.
We also have, my wife and I met in high school. And so both of our families live here. So we both got sisters and both sets of grandmas and grandpas. The kids can shuffle around pretty easy. Like my dad's in town right now doing school pickup. So
yeah,
it's notice when you become a grandparent, either in the summertime or on the days when it's my parents' days that are picking them up, like he doesn't come back to work. So quickly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's hanging out with the grandkids.
That's okay though. Like, I think that's a great thing. that you guys have that support system there, right there close.
Yeah, I try to remember that really we have both of our immediate families within 10 minutes of our house.
Sure.
That makes a difference.
The navigating ag conversations online, we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit. So, social media is a double edged sword. You've got some that are for it, some that are against it. How do you handle the pressures to educate versus just share your life?
Yeah, one of the things you've got to learn is there's going to be people that disagree with you, for one. And there's a difference between somebody that's trolling in the comments and somebody that actually disagrees with you. Those are two different people in my mind.
Do you respond to those when you get
Uh,
those?
the
Either
trolling type comments, I normally don't unless I'm able to use that person as an example because I think other people are going to read that
yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
But mostly, sometimes you get one or two replies in, and you're like, okay, this isn't going to go
if,
anywhere, so
sure,
it's pointless. And then you also learn the internet's a pretty humbling place because even like you do whatever ABC crops on your farm, you think like you're an expert at that, but then somebody 1,000 miles away, like the way you do it doesn't work at all over there. So like the exception to the rule is going to find you on the internet and
sure.
argue and prove you wrong. So
Well,
you just got to learn that's going to happen and take it.
that's what I was going to ask because I've talked to a lot of farmers and ranchers that that's their big hang up is, and they're very successful. Like I know them personally. I know their operations. I know they're financially, like where they're at. Everything checks the box, but they are so
Hmm.
intimidated to share their story because of that. Do you think imposter syndrome is I guess what we call it? They just fear that somebody's going to call them out.
Yeah, and I'll find myself doing that sometimes, or I'll delete a tweet or something. I'm like, oh, this isn't. They're like, I just don't want to read the comments, so I'm just because I know what
It's
they're
true.
gonna be, so I'm just not gonna post it.
You get to a point where the three guys that are going to comment negatively on whatever you post.
Right. Or like a long time ago, I came up with don't look at your phone right before you lay down.
Yeah.
That's never good. You're like, oh, now I got to sleep. I got to go reply to that guy that's wrong.
Oh, I know. Ha- Have you ever, is there been like any major moments that, or a post that like really shifted things for you online?
Yeah, my biggest one, and this goes back close to the beginning.
Yeah.
I did a long time ago when I was talking about GMOs and all this stuff. This was put me on the map thing. I scanned a PDF of my Monsanto tech use agreement and kind of put my take of it line by line on my blog and
Oh,
said, here you
wow.
go. And I said, here's my thoughts and click over and read the PDF if you want to read it for yourself. That really took off. And then about a year after that, CNN used to have a food blogging site called Eatocracy, like EAT.
Yeah.
You probably know or heard of Ryan Goodman.
Mm.
He was writing for them and he put my name in the hat as the editor. And I got to write a few things during the drought of 2012 and things like that. I got to write some about that. And I asked the editor one day, I said, hey, I have this blog post. And like, I, at the time when I wrote it, it was like the Occupy movement and Willie Nelson and Farm Aid had written something about that. And so I kind of
Sure.
typed. So I was like, can I take out the Occupy part? We'll redo the intro and post this on CNN. And we did. And then it got like 800 comments.
Oh
And
my gosh.
still some of my favorite ones. Look at the picture of that guy. He's entirely too pale to be a farmer. He never goes outside. I'm just like, I've been burnt so many times in my life. I don't even try to get a tan anymore because it's just
That's funny.
that's why I'm so pale.
The
But
things that they come up with.
but that one put me on the map. It was like the number one post on my blog for 5 years without even me doing anything with it.
Sure.
Hardly. It just got shared all over the place. And I had what was the name of that site? The Rainforest Action Network wrote
Hmm.
a post about how I'm a paid imposter and all this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so I lived on that one for several years.
That's cool. So it's always a question, but have you ever gone down the monetization of the social media platform?
Yeah, I started doing that a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
Got it figured out somewhat. I'm still learning. I'm in my third year now of working with an oil company. They're my biggest supporter for several other brands. I've been really careful. It either has to be something that I know about that I want to try, or something I'm already using and that we believe in on the farm. I won't just do anything. So I've turned down quite a bit of stuff. And
So,
then
Brian, are
and
you telling me you have integrity
I try to.
as an ag influencer? It's funny, and on X, there was a couple months back, we had everybody was blowing up because we had the top ag influencer was released for
Yeah.
it stirred up all this hornet's nest of comments. And but I know several of those people personally, and they're good folks.
Yeah.
And
I do
just
too.
just like you, it's like I don't want to work with a brand that I don't believe in. And it's been interesting to see that and to talk to folks because I don't think they realize the integrity that I have personally witnessed with the ag influencer folks on social media. I think it's been very interesting to see that.
Yeah. And when I was first starting to figure out like what I'm worth, which I had no clue
Sure.
what I was worth. Now I maybe got somewhat of a handle on that, but I did a couple things that were just the deal was for one or two posts.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in that criteria of stuff. And it was like, I feel icky posting this. I feel like really selling something, which now whenever I work with somebody, I said, I want whatever posts I do for you guys. It needs to look and feel exactly like all my other stuff. I
Yeah.
just got that paid sponsorship tag
Yeah.
at the top of it.
Absolutely. I like that. So, out of if someone was looking into social media, what platform would you recommend, or do you have a favorite?
I probably spend most of my time on Facebook because it's my biggest audience right
Okay.
now. TikTok is, I'm just trying to spend more time on TikTok. I spend a lot of time on TikTok, but I didn't like post a lot. But I think that's really taken off, unless they don't sell it by Saturday or whatever's going on. Who
It,
knows?
I know something's happening. I know we were talking about that this morning. TikTok. It seems like I don't know, the algorithm shifted. Something's different about the viewership that you're getting, or at least I feel like mine has shifted.
And I turned on the monetization on TikTok. I don't do any brand stuff on TikTok, but
Yeah.
I would say I'd make more money on a video there than I do anywhere
Anywhere.
else. Big views on long form YouTube. I go back when I started doing YouTube, I did it because I felt I had to do it.
Yeah.
And now when I look back, I was like, I wish I realized I was like one of the only farmers doing it there for a minute. I spent a lot more time there.
I
But
was gonna say you're like pre-millennial farmer. Was Zach actually had he started his page
I
by?
I can't tell you when he started. I want to say maybe I started YouTube in 13 or 14, but
Okay.
I started doing stuff online in 2011.
Yeah.
I think there was like a core group of ag people
Yep.
that I say were like generation 1.0 and I'm 2.0. And then I would say when Rob Sharkey started podcasting and stuff, maybe that was like version 3. And now we're in who knows what version of things. So
Sure. Absolutely. That's pretty cool. So, what is the plan moving forward for the farmer's life?
yeah, just keep doing like I've been doing. And it gets more video intensive all the time and depends on what kind of video. I used to post all my long form YouTubes to Facebook. And then I got to think like, I don't think I've ever watched a long form horizontal video on Facebook.
Sure.
And not a lot of people are watching mine. So I do. Then the reels started getting big. So I started doing more reels. And I think that's the way I've got to go is keep doing
Yeah.
more content like that. Photos still do really well for me. It seems so I'm not total video intensive on Facebook. It's getting there. But that's part of the reason I started trying to make some money because I was like 9 or 10 years into this. And I'm like, I'm spending some significant time on this. Like I need to get something back from it. So I think I can get it out and makes it work. And now I'm sitting here in the office, not I'm making money off this podcast.
Sure.
It's, if I'm editing video or something here and things are slow out in the shop or I'm like, uh, this is worth my time to sit here and do this and not be out here reaching at this moment or whatever. Come to terms with that.
That's what I was curious about. I think a lot of people, it's daunting when you get to thinking about one videoing, but then the real work comes in when the editing, in my opinion. If you, for our viewers that and listeners that are wanting to go down this road, like what do you recommend as far as equipment? What do you use? And then what do you use to edit these videos?
The main thing you need is in your pocket. That's the biggest thing.
The good old phone.
Your phone can do it, but I've upgraded some stuff over time, like sitting right here. I got this Osmo Pocket, so it's like stabilized like a drone camera, carried around. The microphone's better than my phone. I got the clip-on mic with the windscreen. That's me. I've had 3 of these. I lost the Osmo Pocket.
Sure.
And then I got the Osmo Pocket 2. And then this one shoots native vertical video. So I got this one recently. You got the 3rd. So I've had all the Osmo Pockets.
Yeah.
But especially anybody that's doing stuff with the farm, we got to be outside or something when, like, I can be out on a completely still day in a dry cornfield and like a breeze you don't even notice when you're talking totally destroys the day. So I've got to get some better equipment. And then like even in the tractor cab, I sound way better. It does face tracking, so I don't have to worry if I'm actually looking the right way or whatever.
Yeah, you're bouncing around in the...
Yeah, I've done some, you don't have to buy some fancy equipment, but I've gotten a few things over time that make my life easier.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to editing, what is there a software, an app? Is there something that you use?
I just use, if I'm using my iPad, we just use the iMovie app that's on my iPad.
Oh, okay.
Whatever the free software is on this computer, I use that. I don't do anything too fancy. Crazy. I've learned over time, I can talk about stuff. If I'm in the tractor cab going back and forth, I could probably talk for like 10 minutes on a subject. And I've tried to learn to slow myself down and take breaks because it makes the editing easier for me because I'll run sentences together and stuff, and then it's hard to cut it up. And or I'll try to do, okay, don't just sit here and yap about this. Just talk for 10 seconds, shut the camera off, say something else for 10 more seconds. And then all those clips are already in order and I hardly don't have to do anything. So I've tried to learn what my tendencies are and either work around them or correct some of them to make the editing part easier.
Sure. If you've got someone that's early in their social media career and they're trying to build followers, that kind of thing, any tips or advice you would give them on that, or is it just a grind? Just
I think the thing I've always said is the non-ag crowd, if that's what you're going for. Even farmers, if you do a different type of farming than somebody else does, the everyday mundane stuff you don't think anything of, people will find that absolutely fascinating.
I know. The first time that I had a video go over 100,000 views, I was like, this is crazy. I was just feeding cattle. That's all it was.
Right. You don't have to jump into these lofty debates about all these things or have some high concept. You can be like, hey, this bearing went bad. Watch me replace it.
Sure.
People will be into it.
That's crazy.
I watch people power wash sidewalks and mow yards all the time for whatever reason.
I know. Oh, my Lord. Well, out of all the platforms, what is your favorite right now?
I am liking TikTok quite a bit. I still need to make myself use it more.
Sure.
I think I need to work on, like right now, waiting for planting. I'm like, hey, you can come up with something to talk about.
Jump into some.
It's too wet to plant. We don't have, everything's ready to go. We don't have anything else to do.
Sure.
I can do better coming up with content for those times of the year.
Absolutely.
But you got to know some of the stuff is seasonal. So,
sure.
And then it's like you're busy, but this is when I need to capture stuff. Is we were busy. And there'll be days I'm like, I'm not even going to pull my phone out. I'm just gonna open up an audiobook or whatever and go back and forth in the tractor for 10 hours.
That we'll move to our final question, and this doesn't have to. It doesn't have to fit social media, and this can be just Brian, whatever your thoughts are on whatever topic. But what's something you wish more people inside and outside ag understood about the life?
That's a good question. I didn't know this was coming before me. Let me think. Just that I go back to, I think I have a perspective having worked a regular job and almost despising it by the time I quit,
Sure, sure,
that it doesn't have to be farming. I think it could be anything. Self-employment's pretty gratifying if you can make a go of it. It just gives you so much free time. Yeah, you've got to do the work when it's time to do the work, but you just open up to do so many other things. You're not beholden to someone else. Like I used to have 35 people under me and a dozen people above me.
mm-hmm.
I don't have that anymore. To do what I need to do. I don't have anybody be like, that's 3 aisles over. That's not my department. I'm not going to do that. I'm like, well, I came from where you just do it because it needs done.
Yeah,
And so let's
solve problems.
I don't know. You can keep to yourself. I know I'm out online everywhere, but I'm a pretty introverted guy anyway. I don't have a problem being alone for long periods of time. It doesn't bother me. I don't get bored.
Sure,
So this life works out pretty well for me.
absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. I think entrepreneurship is, while it's challenging, I just don't know if I could do anything else. I think, like, what, and it doesn't matter just being in business for yourself, whatever that is, whether it's farming or any other kind of business. I feel like that is so rewarding. And yes, it's challenging, but there's so many things that you can pick up from that that I think are good. It's good for the family, good for your soul, good for everything in life.
Yeah, I make a pretty good living on the farm, and so I can't think of anything else where I would make this much money and enjoy it at the
Sure.
same time. And if you want to go back to that town job, sometimes I put the making money online in perspective, which there is, I'm sure, more out there than I am aware of, but more than people that haven't tried it can fathom. I'm not one of the ones that makes more money than I do farming. I'm not there yet.
Sure.
But sometimes I'll put it in perspective and like, I don't really want to do a post I'm contracted to do today or whatever. We're like, the last couple of years, I make more money in social media than I did at my 55, 60 hour a week job in town. And I'm
Man.
definitely not spending 60 hours a week on it.
Sure. Sure.
So you'd be surprised what you can do out here.
Yeah. Let's go to Brian. Where can people follow along, connect, and reach out and engage with you on your socials?
Yeah, if you just look up The Farmer's Life on most of the big ones, I'll be there. For me, it's mainly Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. That's where you'll find me for the most part. The blog is still technically there, but I haven't really used it for years. But
Sure.
I still own it, so it's still alive.
Yeah.
It's just thefarmerslife.com.
Guys, definitely check out thefarmerslife.com where the blog is. Check out The Farmer's Life on all the platforms. Go to YouTube, watch his videos. I've checked out a lot of his stuff and engage with him. Brian's a real person. You guys heard it here that kind of got started in this really by accident. And it's become a big part of your farming career and life. And it's neat to see how that's evolved. And we appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out. I'm glad to be on.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to Your Ag Empire. If this episode gave you a new perspective on farming, family, and social media, pass it along to someone else in your circle. And don't forget to follow so you never miss a new episode. And we'll see you next week.